There's a kind of tired sleep can't fix. The one that comes from carrying too much, caring too hard, and forgetting to breathe. If that feels familiar, this is for you. There's a story we're taught from the earliest age. Hold on. Hold on to your dreams. Hold on to people. Hold on to jobs. Hold on to things that are slipping through our fingers, because that's what strong people do. We glorify endurance, even when it costs us our joy. We admire those who never give up, even if what they're holding on to is tearing them apart. But what if that narrative is incomplete? What if strength isn't just about holding on, but also about knowing when to let go? Letting go is often misunderstood. People think it's passive, weak, or a sign that you've failed. But the truth is, letting go is one of the most courageous acts a person can perform. It means you've looked a situation in the eye, weighed its value in your life, and made a conscious decision to release it not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. Letting go isn't about escape, it's about intention. It's not an act of defeat, it's an act of clarity. We're trained to fight for things, to chase outcomes, to prove our worth by how long we can hold out. But we rarely stop to ask, what am I holding on to, and why? So many people carry broken relationships, unfulfilled expectations, grudges, and roles they no longer fit into. Not because they still matter, but because they once did. Letting go forces us to update the stories we tell ourselves. It forces us to ask if the battle we're fighting is even still worth it. Consider how much energy it takes to hold on. To keep checking in, to keep explaining yourself, to keep justifying something that no longer aligns with who you are. It's not just physical effort, it's emotional labor. And emotional labor has a cost. It drains our mental bandwidth, clouds our focus, and distances us from peace. Letting go reclaims that energy. It puts the power back in your hands. Instead of waiting for change, you become the change. When you let go, you shift the center of control. You stop allowing external things to dictate your internal state. Whether it's people, environments, or expectations, you stop outsourcing your peace. That's not weakness. That's maturity. That's agency. And that's the beginning of real freedom. Because once you stop gripping so tightly, you realize how much you were missing while your hands were full. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough to know better. It means you've outgrown the version of you that needed to stay in that situation. Maybe that version needed approval. Maybe that version feared being alone. Maybe that version didn't believe peace was an option. But you've grown. And growth doesn't always look like climbing. Sometimes it looks like releasing. People often say, but I invested so much time, as if time spent justifies continued suffering. But time is only valuable when it teaches. Time doesn't guarantee worth. If a relationship, a goal, or a lifestyle is no longer giving you life, it's okay to pivot. Letting go doesn't erase the past. It honors it by learning from it. You can appreciate what was and still decide it's not meant for your future. There's a hidden pride in suffering, like it proves our loyalty or toughness. But who are we trying to impress? Who benefits from our burnout, our bitterness, our constant tension? Letting go doesn't mean you don't care anymore. It means you care about your health, your peace, your future. That's not selfish, that's responsible. Because no one else is going to protect your peace for you. That's your job. We often confuse chaos with passion. We think drama means depth, and intensity means value. But healthy things are often quiet. They don't demand all of you to function. Letting go means you stop mistaking turbulence for meaning. You stop confusing effort with alignment. You stop expecting peace to come from the places that keep hurting you. And that shift, that awareness, is a powerful reclamation of control. Letting go isn't quitting the fight. It's choosing which fight is truly yours. It's refusing to waste your time, your heart, your energy on battles that were never designed to grow you. It's recognizing that not everything that feels heavy is worth carrying. And once you understand that, You begin to see that peace was never far, it was just buried under all the things you thought you needed to hold on to. We breathe every day without thinking. It's the most natural thing we do, the first sign of life, and the rhythm that sustains it. Yet most of us go days, weeks, even years without ever noticing a single breath. We treat breathing like background noise. Necessary, automatic, ignorable. But when we learn to pay attention to it, we discover something extraordinary. Breathing isn't just a sign that we're alive, it's a gateway into how we live. Every inhale carries a message. Every exhale offers release. But most of the time, we're not listening. We're moving too fast, caught in loops of worry and reaction. Our minds are everywhere but here. And yet, breath always brings us back. Back to this moment. Back to what's real. Back to the part of us that's still steady, even when life feels chaotic. In a world obsessed with doing, breathing reminds us how to be. Think about the last time you were truly present. Maybe it was during a conversation that stirred something in you. Maybe it was watching a sunrise, or hearing a song that made everything slow down. Now think, was your breath shallow or deep? Fast or slow? Breath mirrors our awareness. Shallow breath often means scattered thoughts. Deep breath signals calm, clarity, and connection. When we tune into it, we access an inner stillness that's always been waiting for us. Breathing is the most honest mirror we have. When we're anxious, it shortens. When we're scared, it tightens. When we're at peace, it flows. The body never lies, and breath is its language. If you want to know how you're really feeling beyond the mask, beyond the performance, watch your breath. It will tell you everything you need to know, not with words, but with rhythm. Most people treat breathing like a survival mechanism. But it can be so much more. It's a tool, a practice, a teacher. With every mindful breath, we create space. Space between stimulus and response. Space to reflect before we react. In that space, we take back control. Not over the world, but over ourselves. Over our focus, our state, our peace. That's where awareness begins, not in thinking harder, but in breathing deeper. We often look outside for calm vacations, silence, distraction. But calm isn't a destination, it's a decision. And that decision begins with a breath. One breath that says, I'm here. One breath that interrupts the noise. One breath that reminds you you're not just a reactor to life. You're a participant. You can shape your moment by how you meet it. And you meet it through breath. The breath anchors us in truth. Not the truth of opinions or headlines or arguments, but the truth of existence. The truth that you are here, now, and alive. In this moment, no matter what else is going wrong or right, your breath is a reminder that you're still capable of presence, still capable of pause, still capable of accessing peace, even when the world around you is anything but peaceful. In leadership, in creativity, in conflict, those who master their breath master their clarity. Because awareness isn't a product of effort. It's a result of attention. And attention is something you practice. Not by straining, but by softening. By learning to return to your breath again and again. Especially when you're tempted to escape into distraction or react in frustration. Breath becomes the bridge between who you are and who you're trying to be. We spend our lives chasing meaning, trying to find depth in achievements, relationships, status. But the deepest things are often the simplest. Breathing is the most ancient rhythm we share. Across every language, culture, age, and belief, this is what unites us. Breath doesn't ask for credentials or titles. It asks for presence. And presence is what transforms ordinary moments into meaningful ones. There is wisdom in every breath. Not the kind you read in books or hear in lectures, but the kind you feel in your bones. The wisdom that says, slow down, you're already enough, you're already here. Breath isn't a task on your to-do list. It's the invisible thread that ties you back to your humanity. And once you notice that, you can never quite go back to living on autopilot. We tend to wait for peace like it's a reward, a result, something that arrives when the stars align, when problems go away, when life finally gives us a break. We attach peace to outcomes, financial stability, relationship harmony, perfect health. But the danger in that thinking is simple. If peace is always somewhere out there, then we're never allowed to feel it here. And the truth is, peace doesn't arrive when life calms down. It arrives when we do. Look at the way we live. Always chasing, always reacting. We say things like, "I'll feel better when this is over," or, "Once I fix this, then I'll be okay." And so we train our minds to believe that calm is conditional, that peace is earned by completing checklists or surviving stress. But peace doesn't work that way. It isn't something you acquire, it's something you decide. It's a state of being, not a byproduct of your environment. Peace begins with a choice. A quiet, internal decision that says, "I will not allow external chaos to define my internal world." That doesn't mean denial. It doesn't mean pretending things are fine when they're not. It means choosing your response, even in discomfort. It means understanding that your inner stillness can exist alongside the storm, not just in the absence of one. We often meet conflict with conflict, tension with more tension. But what if peace was the interruption? What if instead of matching the energy around us, we shifted it by being rooted in our own calm? That shift is not accidental, it's intentional. You don't stumble into peace, you choose it. In the middle of misunderstanding, in the heart of pressure, in the face of things not going your way. Peace becomes your anchor, not your reward. When you begin to live like peace is a decision, not a circumstance, your priorities change. You stop chasing the world's approval. You stop tying your self-worth to outcomes. You begin filtering everything: relationships, environments, conversations through a new lens. Does this cost me my peace? Because once peace becomes your standard, anything that threatens it becomes negotiable. Peace isn't passive. It takes strength. It takes awareness. It takes the discipline to say no to the noise, even when the noise is familiar. Most of us don't realize how addicted we are to urgency, to stress, to always needing something to fix. We confuse movement with meaning. But peace doesn't always look productive. It looks quiet, focused, present. And sometimes, that's exactly what strength looks like. When peace becomes a conscious choice, you begin to unlearn the myth that more always means better. You see that simplicity is not lack. It's clarity. You don't need everything to go right to feel aligned. You just need to stop giving your power away to everything that's going wrong. Because peace isn't found in controlling the world. It's found in how you relate to it. Choosing peace doesn't mean you're indifferent. It means you're intentional. You still care. You still engage. You still show up. But you do so from a centered place, not a scattered one. You speak from clarity, not from panic. You listen without reacting. You understand that peace allows you to lead, to love, to live not perfectly, but meaningfully. There's a reason inner peace feels unfamiliar to so many. It's not because it's rare, but because it's unpracticed. We've been taught to pursue performance over presence. But when you begin practicing peace, you realize it's not fragile. It doesn't shatter with bad news or disagreement. It deepens with use. It strengthens every time you choose not to spiral, not to snap, not to surrender your center to temporary chaos. Peace, in its truest form, is not found in retreating from life. It's found in how you carry yourself through it, in how you pause before reacting, in how you breathe before responding, in how you stay grounded even when the world gives you every reason not to be. There's a quiet kind of suffering that doesn't come from what happens to us, but from what we choose to carry long after it's over. We don't always realize it, but we walk through life collecting burdens. Words that hurt us, mistakes that haunt us, expectations that were never ours to meet. And because we've carried them for so long, They begin to feel like part of us. But just because something is familiar doesn't mean it belongs to you. Control is something we're taught to chase. We try to manage people, predict outcomes, perfect situations. But the more we try to control everything, the more anxious we become. Because deep down, we know we're not in charge of most things. The weather, other people's thoughts, the past, the future. These are all outside our reach. But what is within reach is what we allow to stay in our hands, in our minds, in our hearts. You can't control what people say to you, but you can choose whether or not to replay those words in your head. You can't control the situation you were born into, but you can decide how much of that story you'll let define your worth. We often think freedom is about changing the world around us. But real freedom begins when we stop dragging around things that weigh down our spirit. Look at your emotional backpack. What are you carrying that doesn't serve you anymore? Old anger, guilt that no longer teaches you anything, the need to prove yourself in every room. These things don't just take up space, they drain your strength. You only have so much emotional bandwidth. When it's spent managing burdens that aren't yours, you have less to give to the things that actually matter. Some burdens are loud like grief, betrayal, or disappointment. Others are subtle like chronic self-doubt, the habit of people-pleasing, or the quiet shame of not feeling enough. And the problem isn't that these feelings exist. The problem is when we never put them down. When we carry them into every relationship, every opportunity, every version of our future, assuming they're part of our identity. We spend so much time trying to fix the world, when maybe the more urgent work is within. Maybe the greatest act of power is not to control, but to choose. To choose what stays and what goes. To ask, does this belief serve my peace? Does this narrative serve my growth? Does this fear still belong in my life? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are also liberating. Choosing what to carry doesn't mean you ignore your pain. It means you decide what role it plays. Pain can be a teacher, but it's not meant to be your home. Some experiences are meant to pass through us, not park inside us. And it takes awareness to notice when something has overstayed its welcome. Just because it shaped you doesn't mean it has to lead you. There's dignity in being selective, in choosing what you allow to take up space in your emotional life. This isn't selfish, it's survival. You were not built to carry the entire world. You were built to carry purpose, presence, and peace. Everything else is extra weight. And when we learn to put down what doesn't serve us, we make space for what does. We create room for joy to re-enter, for clarity to return. It's easy to think, I don't have a choice, when emotions run deep. But even in pain, even in chaos, you still have power. The power to pause, the power to release, the power to decide what you bring with you into the next chapter. You may not be able to change what happened, but you can change how much power it continues to have over your spirit. That's not just healing, that's leadership. What you carry becomes what you live with. It shapes your tone, your posture, your ability to hope. And when you become intentional about what you carry, you stop being a container for other people's chaos and start becoming a vessel for your own peace. There's a strange comfort in chaos. Not because it feels good, but because it feels familiar. We get used to the noise, the constant stimulation, the urgency, the emotional roller coasters. We start to believe that if things are quiet, something must be wrong. So we stay busy. We keep scrolling. We keep solving problems that aren't even ours. And without realizing it, we begin to chase chaos not because we want it, but because we don't know who we are without it. Chaos often disguises itself as meaning. A packed schedule makes us feel important. A heated argument makes us feel alive. A dramatic story gives us something to tell. But deep beneath all that noise is a quieter truth. Most of us are terrified of stillness. Because in stillness, we have to feel. We have to face the parts of ourselves we've ignored. And so, chaos becomes a distraction, a way to avoid our own depth. There's a difference between movement and progress. Chaos gives the illusion of momentum. It makes us feel like we're doing something, even when we're going nowhere. Peace, on the other hand, feels slower. It doesn't demand constant action. It invites presence. And for people who are addicted to fixing, achieving, or managing everything, that stillness can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is not always danger, it's often just unfamiliar peace trying to reach you. When you stop chasing chaos, you begin to notice how many of your decisions were rooted in fear. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of losing control. Fear of disappointing others. These fears convince us that if we're not constantly involved, we're falling behind. But peace doesn't compete. It doesn't rush. It doesn't need to prove. Peace knows it has nothing to win and nothing to lose. It simply is, and it waits for us to meet it there. Peace doesn't shout over the noise. It whispers beneath it. And the only way to hear it is to stop running toward the noise we've grown used to. That might mean stepping back from a conversation that always ends in conflict. It might mean not responding to every crisis. It might mean breaking the habit of jumping into every emotional fire. Not because you don't care, but because you finally understand that peace is not found in constantly reacting. It's found in choosing your presence carefully. We often believe that our value is tied to how much we can carry, how much we can endure, how many people we can save. But peace asks a different question. Who are you when you're not fixing? Who are you when you're not pleasing? Who are you when you simply are? That question unsettles those who've built their worth on being needed. But it also opens the door to a deeper self, one that isn't defined by chaos, but by clarity. Letting go of chaos doesn't mean your life becomes perfect. It means you stop inviting drama just to feel alive. It means you begin to trust quiet moments. You begin to appreciate the depth of silence. You stop viewing peace as something that has to be earned through exhaustion. You realize it's been available all along, you just had to stop sprinting in the opposite direction. There's a profound shift that happens when you no longer need life to be dramatic to feel purposeful. You start to find meaning in the small, in the still, in the slow. You stop measuring your value by how exhausted you are at the end of the day. You realize that peace isn't the absence of challenge, it's the presence of alignment. And alignment happens when your actions reflect your values, not your fears. Chaos thrives on reaction. Peace thrives on intention. So much of our chaos is self-created. We overcommit, we overthink, we overextend, and then we wonder why we're overwhelmed. But when you begin to live from a place of peace, you become more selective. Not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. You learn to say no, not to push people away, but to protect what centers you. You don't have to chase chaos to matter. You don't have to be everywhere to be enough. You don't have to respond to every fire to be strong. Peace isn't a place you arrive at once, everything is solved. It's a mindset you carry into every room, every decision, every breath. Peace was never outside of you. It was never hidden in a place, a person, or a perfect moment. It was always within reach, quiet, steady, waiting for your permission to lead. The journey begins with letting go. Not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of strength. Because choosing not to carry what no longer serves you is how you reclaim your power. Breathing, then, becomes your daily return, a reminder that awareness isn't something you force, it's something you notice. In each inhale, there's presence. In each exhale, release. And when you finally stop tying peace to circumstances, you begin to experience freedom. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You stopped giving energy to what drains you. You stopped trying to control everything and started choosing what's worth holding. In that space between chaos and clarity, you learn something sacred. Peace was never a product of a quiet world. It was the quiet inside you. The one you access not by chance, but by choice. So protect it. Fiercely, gently, consistently. not because peace makes life perfect, but because it makes life livable, real, and yours.